I do want to ask, though, about something that we spoke about earlier, and you mentioned your brother. We were talking about some of the ugly post-bill signing reaction, and your brother had a propane line cut at his house, which was mistakenly identified by bloggers down in your district as being your house. And I'm interested, A, if you can tell us anything specific about whether the investigation has tracked down the cause of this incident, but also more broadly what you think about this ugly reaction and the emotion that's been unleashed, where you think it's coming from, and what you think Democrats and you in particular should do about it.
Well, it was a scary week for my family, and the law enforcement's done a great job, and they've confirmed that this was an intentional act, and otherwise it's an ongoing investigation. I won't comment, but obviously, he's got 4 small kids at home, and came home between coaching and teaching to check on the house because the address had been posted to find it, propane gas covering the back of his house. And it is very scary, and I actually really want to thank and commend the Attorney General of my state, Ken Cuccinelli, Bob McDonnell, the governor, for not hesitating for a second to come out and say any form of intimidation or threat is wrong. Ken Cuccinelli said it wasn't even close to the line. And it goes back to this idea of conviction politics. Mr. Cuccinelli and I don't agree on all of our values, but we agree on the idea that your values should inform your politics and you should be upfront about them. And you saw that they didn't hesitate, including some of the Tea Party movement folks in my district, to call this out, whereas it seemed like the Republican leadership in Washington had to take a few days to focus group it or whatever before they would just come out and say, we tried to get this to be a bipartisan group to walk out and condemn this violence. I think we are at a point where things could spiral out of control if this is not unambiguously called out, not blanketed or bracketed and certain validations of the logic behind it. The vast majority of people who are against healthcare reform in my district are great people. They're decent people. They're standing up for what they think is right for the country and the community, in the same way that all the people that are for reform, or the vast majority of people for reform, are good, decent people who are doing this because they think it's right for the country. That's how our country works. Terry Gaynor, I think he's a sergeant at arms, but he's certainly in charge of security on the Hill, said that it's in a letter to every member of Congress. What has changed? I think the Capitol Hill is already like a fortress with all those barriers and bars and everything else up there.
And not a week passes by without him saying that on this broadcast.
Because I prefer to live in a free society.
Talk about obsessive
something
compulsive.
American. But what has changed for you on the Hill? The members, are you having officers on your floor, outside your doors? What's the tenor on the Hill as people worry that some person might do something? I think people are much less worried about what would happen to us on the Hill, though you always want to be cautious. What I was listening to was recordings of people saying to some of my fellow members, I'm going to kill your children if you vote this way on a bill. Naming the children, saying, I know where they go to school, I know where they live, I'm going to burn your house to the ground if you vote this way. Nothing could be less American than saying, I'm going to demand your vote under threat of violence to go after people's children. These are the recordings that don't go onto the air, unlike some of just the ones that are very harsh and nasty, because these are ongoing criminal investigations. But we don't have barricades at people's homes. That's when you have a wife with kids back home that are not barricaded in the way Capitol Hill is. So what we need here is for everyone around the country to take a deep breath on both sides, condemn all violence. There's a report this morning that someone threw a brick through the window of the Republican headquarters in a county in my district. We immediately condemned that. This should be something that isn't partisan. There's no gray area, no ambiguity. It's absolutely wrong to intimidate, threaten, or harm elected officials and their families and their property. That has got to be a basic rule everyone signs on to, and again, it shouldn't be tough, and I want to commend the governor and attorney general of my state for showing leadership on that.